Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to go ahead and show you where you can find lesson 3.6b for the Great Depression and what you need to do. And we're going to go over what you need to do for that assignment. To start, you're going to go into your social studies course, HGS supplemental resource, module 3, federal expansion. We're looking at 3.6, the Great Depression, and we're looking at 3.6b, more about the Great Depression. Okay. So we're going to go over this assignment, what you need to do for this assignment. So it says at the top here, now that you have some background about the Great Depression from what you read in 3.6a, let's find out more about this time period in American history. And then just a reminder with these HGS supplemental resources, boys and girls, your answers on these assessment sheets must come from the videos and the articles. You cannot be using Google because that's not really taking the time to learn the content. So you need to make sure you're practicing the life skill of integrity to make sure that you're actually learning this material. Okay, so make sure that you watch the videos, you read the articles, and that you truly understand the information from the resources. And then you're going to get into the steps, okay? Step 1, you're going to watch the Great Depression video, and you can watch that video by clicking on the link here. And you're going to answer questions 1 through 2 on the Great Depression assessment sheet, which is attached below. So I'm going to go and pull up the assessment sheet. It's right down here below under attachments, the Great Depression assessment. So I'll pull that up. And for this assignment, you've got 2 pages with 8 questions. All right, so let's go back to the lesson. Step 1, you're watching the video and then you're answering questions 1 through 2 on the assessment sheet. So let's look at questions 1 through 2. So step 1, questions 1 and 2. Number 1, how was life different for most Americans before and after the 1929 stock market crash? So what was life like for most Americans before the stock market crash? What was life like after the stock market crash for most Americans? So make sure you hit on both those pieces, life before the stock market crash and then life after the stock market crash. And then number 2, what 3 words come to your mind when you think about the Great Depression and why? So for number 2, you can just list the 3 words, 1, 2, 3, and then make sure you explain why those words come to your mind. Why did you think of those words? So a little explanation of why you chose those 3 words. Okay, make sure you're answering these questions in complete sentences as well. All right, so that's step 1. Step 2, you have learned about the Great Depression, but what was life like in South Carolina during this time? So now we're going to focus just on our state. You're going to read the article, South Carolina and the Great Depression. You can click on that here, or you can listen to the audio by clicking here. And then you're going to answer question 3 on the Great Depression assessment sheet, which is attached below. I already have it pulled up. So for step 2, you're answering question 3, which is on the second half of this first page. So for number 3, you're going to choose one of the following 2 activities. Please be sure to respond in complete sentences. So you have 2 activity choices here. You're going to choose one. Activity choice 1 would be to pretend you work in a textile mill in South Carolina during the Great Depression. Write a diary entry telling about how your life has changed before and after the Great Depression. Make sure you respond in 5 to 6 sentences. If you don't want to do choice 1, you can do choice 2. Write a paragraph that explains what happened to the textile mills during the Great Depression. Include how this affected the lives of people in South Carolina, and you're going to need 5 to 6 sentences for that response. So as I said, you're going to choose one of those activities, either choice 1 or choice 2, and you're going to respond using 5 or 6 sentences. And you're going to place your answer down below. Step 1, you're going to just fill in the blank. I chose to do activity choice number 1 or 2, whichever one you choose. And then below, you're going to write or type your response at the bottom of the page. Okay, so that's step 2, question 3. Step 3, the Great Depression affected different people in different ways. some perspectives were similar while others were different. Here you're going to read the text, Voices of the Depression. You can listen to the article by clicking here, and you're going to answer question 4 on the assessment sheet. So let's look at question 4 on the second page. Which person's story made the greatest impact on you? How did it make you feel? And make sure you explain yourself. So make sure you explain why you felt the way you felt and why that person's story had an impact on you. Step 4, you're going to think about what you learned about the Great Depression. Okay, so from the sources that you looked at from step 1, step 2, and step 3, you looked at 3 different sources, and you also looked at a source in lesson 3.6a. You're going to answer questions 5 through 8. So let's take a look at 5 through 8. Number 5, how would you describe life in America before the Great Depression? So think about the 1920s. We just talked about that right before our break, what life was like during the beginning and middle of the 1920s. So what was life like? How would you describe life in America after the Great Depression? And then number 7, what lessons can we learn from the Great Depression? And then number 8, if you were the president during this time, what would you have done to help the lives of Americans? Okay, so you're going to answer questions 5 through 8 for step 4. And then step 5, you're going to submit your assignment for grading. In order to submit it, you can click on the blue plus button down here at the bottom of your page.